I want to take a moment and talk about being a transactional individual and then being a transformational individual. And at times you have to be a little bit of both, but transactional, let me give you a couple of examples of what that may be. In a work environment, it may be that you have quotas that you have to meet every quarter, every 6 months, every year, and they're measured and they are measured to perform to percentage of growth, as an example, right? That would be transactional, where, and usually that's tied to a bonus, a performance bonus, or if you hit this, then you get this, right? That's a transactional relationship. Or maybe it's in a relationship where if an individual and you have a spouse, if a spouse gets a new car, the other spouse gets to equally spend that same amount of money. Or if I get a guy's trip out, my wife gets a girl's trip out. That would be transactional, right? A tit for tat type of deal. And in coaching, it's the same way, where, if an individual in coaching, if the person is not performing at the level that is required, they could get benched or be pulled out and encouraged to do better, or they're not going to play. That's all transactional. In a sales relationship, it would be, I give you this, I get this in return, right? If any of you are in sales, that's all transactional. Now, a transactional is usually has consequences, and it could have a negative connotation to it. Now, transformational is what I prefer, and I like to talk to a lot of my people that I work with on a one-on-one basis, is being a transformational individual. And let's say in a business relationship, you're a manager and you're reviewing quarterly or an annual review, and you're like, hey, your performance was supposed to be X and you did not hit X. Therefore, we're going to have to make, you're not going to hit your sales quota. That means you're not going to hit your performance bonus, whatever. And instead of doing that type of thing, or if you're coaching and you pull a kid out and say, hey, you didn't perform, I got to put XYZ person in your place. And it's just a bad situation. It's negative. I'm not saying it's not ever required. Sometimes it is required, and it's about the only thing you can do if an individual isn't willing to look inside themselves and find a way to get out of the situation they're in. Now, a transformational individual is more of inspiring. It's uplifting, and in the same environment, if you're a business and you're in business you're managing people, and you're doing your quarterly reviews or you're doing your annual reviews, do something like this. Start asking questions. Ask them, why didn't you? Why? Tell me what happened. We missed the benchmark here. Was it too high? Was there a circumstance outside of your control? Was there, maybe it's something at home. Maybe it's, you just never know, right? Let them talk and then ask them, what do you think you can do to improve and hit your numbers going forward? And inspire them to want to do better. I mean, no one ever wants to go out a meeting with their head down and be like, I just got my butt kicked and that didn't go the way I thought. They know that they didn't perform, right? You don't need to put salt on their wounds. They know that they didn't do what they were supposed to. Now, in a coaching environment, I coach a lot of sports, and is pulling an individual out and asking them what happened. And it's great when they're like, oh, I missed my block, or I didn't run my route, or I wasn't where I was supposed to, or I just didn't catch it, right? So that's great. So you understand what you did? Let's get out there and fix it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reset. Get out there. It's a quick decide. They've got to forget it. They've got to move on. We all fall. We all make mistakes. It's not that we don't, right? We just want them to understand what they did do and how they can improve. And guess what? They will improve, and they want to improve. They don't need to sit there and pour salt on those wounds. And being a transformational is asking questions, inspiring individuals to do better. And it's so nice to see when people get it, because you are not going to push somebody out of their comfort zone. You are not going to push somebody to do better by just straight up threats or being that transactional individual. It's not going to happen. If you inspire them, it comes from within. It helps them, encourage them, uplift them. They know that they want that bonus, right? They know that they want to perform. You don't need to add to their misery or what they're already feeling and their lack of performance, right? You just got to encourage them. So the difference, I would say, is transactional is usually a tit for tat. It usually comes with a threat or a consequence. Transformational is asking questions. It's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's encouraging, and letting them come to a solution or a conclusion on how they can transform and do better and want to do better. It changes the world. It changes the perspective. Those hard conversations become easier because at that point, when you're asking them what they can do better and you're being that transformational individual, they know they want to do better. It's not coming from you. It's coming from within inside of them. And trust me, they will perform and they want to perform. Nobody doesn't want to perform. They just may not know how, or you may need to give them some insight. That is true. You may need to say, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? But it isn't telling them that they should do those things. You don't need to tell somebody what they need to do. Inspire them, uplift them, be inspirational. Don't motivate them by threats and being that transactional relationship. It's not needed. Be that transformational individual to inspire and uplift, or that transformational individual.